I'm going to a wedding in 2 days, so naturally I decided to work with the same Vivienne Westwood silhouette I tried to replicate in about the same time frame. Luckily I happened to have some cotton velveteen in just the right color. For the skirt I'm cutting out 2 half circles, one of them in half, this is where the zipper is going to be, plus 2 rectangles that I ruched to add a bit more volume at the hips. Now I will also need some pockets to hold my ID and lipstick probably, so I'm adding a pouch piece out of some basic cotton onto the front half circle and connect the pieces. Velvet notoriously frays like crazy and I was too lazy to set up my overlock machine, so I zigzag stitched all the raw edges. I did however take the time to secure the lining of the pouch with a pick stitch, and I also added a narrow zigzag stitch next to the pocket openings. Finally I can stitch the back quarter circle pieces onto the rectangles, and if you're asking yourself why only 2 days, clearly I must have known for a while. I absolutely did, however it was meant to be a very casual bureaucratic occasion. But this is the result of a sugar rush induced by the festivities prior. Now that it's all connected, the skirt needs to hang and rest for a while. A dress like that needs a bit of structure, however I already made a corset adjacent undergarment, so I used those measurements to create a simple bodice block. I have zigzag stitched the edges, and I also used some velvet I had screen printed some time ago. The next morning I had stitched all of those together. It was now time to secure the bodice onto this gigantic skirt, which took a while, and my machine was not too happy about the bumpy ruffled segment. And then it was time for my absolute favorite part, an inseam zipper that I basted, since it's my absolute favorite part, and it only took me 2 tries to get it right. I have then cut 4 bias strips to make some straps. Absolute nightmare to turn those inside out. So as a treat I made a bodice lining out of some simple cotton, and to finish the top of the dress I have also cut out a sort of cuff out of velvet and secured it onto the bodice lining. I sandwiched my straps in between those layers and secured a lining for the cuff on top of it. Now I was able to secure the lining of the cuff onto the dress itself, and thus the top was finished. I have then made some hip enhancement devices by taking a long tube of tulle and ruching it, and secured those to the seam allowance of the rectangle skirt pieces with a few hand stitches. I have decided to add some covered buttons right next to the zipper. I could have made those functional, but I was clearly running out of time for such frivolities. The next day my mom came over to help me level the hem, and that was probably the most time consuming but also the most relaxing part of this endeavor. Other than weddings I think I might be able to just dye it or something and wear it to some other official paper signing activities.